We move on to the women's vault with Giulia Steingruber, the 19-year-old from Switzerland, first up, the reigning European champion on the vault. She was 5th in this event at the last World Championships in Tokyo as well.
Well, this is going to be an exciting rotation to watch, too. Lots of difficulty packed into these vaults. Each athlete will compete 2 vaults, 2 completely different vaults, and then they will average the score. So we're going to see the vault that we saw a lot of these athletes doing in the all-around finals on top of a completely different vault.
Beautiful handspring front with 1.5 twist. Nice high landing.
Judges specifically looking for that chest completely up on the landing. She was directly on the white line. A lot of these twisting vaults, that's tough to do, to stay centered off of the table. Right here, spots the ground. Nice start.
Current European champion on the vault. Nice technique. She was the first alternate to the vault final at last year's Olympics in London. She also took 14th in the all-around there.
Her qualifying score in day 1 was a 14.799. That was the average between the 2 vaults. And her second vault, not quite the level of difficulty that we see on the first vault.
We do have 2 Americans coming up a little later in this event, both Simone Biles and McKayla Maroney. Maroney will be last. This is Yamilet ABREU coming up next here, as we get the scores from Giulia Steingruber, 15.5. I should say Steingruber going again, and then Yamilet will be next.
Well, 15.5 bettered her score from day 1.
Her second vault has a lower degree of difficulty, and so that will hurt her here in the finals. Oh, good. She did a double twister that time, more difficult than she used in qualifying. Yurchenko double full, and she did it well.
Big smile on her face, little.
See, this vault has a 5.8 degree of difficulty. Her second vault in qualifying was only a 5.0, so to her credit, she stepped it up difficulty-wise in the final. She knows she's going to have to do 2 hard vaults considering the strength of the field here, which includes Maroney and the 2008 Olympic champion, Un Jong, and Simone Biles, the newcomer.
Well, that difficulty score very important in the finals competition because she just boosted her score 8/10 higher before she even performed.
So Steingruber completes both of her vaults, now waiting for the combined scores. And a 15.233 for the Swiss gymnast to get things going on the women's vault. And now Yamilet ABREU coming up next.
Wow, this is going to be interesting. This is a young lady who does a handspring double front. It's a 7.0 degree of difficulty, originally performed by Yelena Prodanova back at the 1999 World Championships. It's rarely done because not only is it extremely difficult, but it's a little bit dangerous. And I have to say, when she does it, she holds on to her knees all the way into the ground. We hope she does well here because this, I have to say, is slightly frightening for me. Oh.
Well, she came up a little short. Day 1, she over-rotated. See, disappointed, but we're glad she's safe on that landing.
Yeah, that actually wasn't so scary compared to the one she did in qualifying, where she hung onto her knees all the way to the ground and actually rolled forward out of it.
Well, this is actually 2.5 flips off of the table, starting in the handstand position. Hard part about that vault is you can't see the ground, so the ground is there, and so makes it very difficult to land. She struggled on the landing, like you mentioned, day 1.
Interesting, though, it's a 7.0 degree of difficulty, and when you fall down, you lose a point. Now, of course, if something other than your feet hits the ground, it's a 0 vault, but her feet clearly hit before her seat, and she's disappointed, but they're going to take off a point for the fall, but she's from a 7.0 degree of difficulty. Keep in mind, Steingruber's second vault was a 5.8, so literally she could fall down and score higher than a gymnast who hits a similar vault with a lower degree of difficulty. So there is some benefit in going for this.
And now her second vault upcoming as the crowd builds.
Completely different vault. She went onto the table forwards on the first one.
That's a good point. You mentioned 2 different vaults in the finals. They have to be from 2 different vault families. So you really have to show mastery, not just of one style of vaulting, but more than one. Oh!
Struggle there on that landing as well.
Rare that you see a gymnast from the Dominican Republic competing for a world medal. So I know she's disappointed, but the fact that she made it into the finals is pretty spectacular.
You know, she looked like she started that twist a little early off the table, so it twisted into the ground. Anytime you're twisting as you're landing, it makes it very difficult to stick, pull those feet under just a little too far. Right there.
We have some interesting stories in the finals here because, of course, we have her doing the handspring double front. We have McKayla Maroney. We have Simone Biles. We have the gymnast from North Korea who is the former Olympic champion whose team was held out of competition recently because of falsifying the ages of North Korean gymnasts. So it's a very intriguing final with all these incredible athletes and interesting backstories competing.
All right, now the score for PENA ABREU, and it's a 13.966. And now, from Uzbekistan, the oldest athlete at these World Championships, 38 years of age, Oksana Chusovitina.
Talk about interesting backstories. Incredible to have her here. Her first World Championships were back in '91 in Indianapolis.
I watched that. I competed with her at some of the World Championships and, of course, the Olympic Games as well.
She really is a living legend in our sport. Oh! Didn't quite come onto the horse.
Didn't quite get enough off of the horse because of that angle. She came in at a different angle, and, of course, that 1.5 twist off. She held on to it, hiked it down so she could stay on her feet, but those are all deductions. Lack of height, body position in the air. She also split her feet to land. But I'll tell you what, at 38, I'm still impressed.
Yeah, she has 2 Olympic and 9 World Championship medals. Her story has been well documented. Her son, Alisher, was diagnosed with leukemia while she was living in Uzbekistan, so she moved to Germany so her son could get treatment. He is now in remission. She lived in Germany for many years, but just recently, she emigrated back to Uzbekistan, got her green card in her former home country, and now competes for Uzbekistan and has a goal of competing again in the Olympics in 2016.
She originally started competing for the Soviet Union, then for the unified team, then for Germany, and now Uzbekistan. Amazing.
6-time Olympian. Only one other athlete who's done that is the Bulgarian Jordan Yovchev. But for a woman gymnast who's the mother of a 15-year-old boy, to be a finalist on vault is just mind-boggling, isn't it, Amanda?
It is mind-boggling. I can't imagine continuing to compete, and I am slightly younger than her.
Wow, you should be out there. And your kids are only, what, 6 and 4?
Yes.
She is the oldest of the 410 gymnasts in Antwerp for these finals. And most of them, she's twice their age or more.
everybody in the building is of enormous appreciation because she is so well loved by the gymnastics world, considering what a great example she is. Look at her fitness level at 38 years old. And she literally is a legitimate contender. It's not like she's here as a token competitor. Here she is again in the vault final.
She had great form on this vault. See just a little bit too much rotation on that landing. You have to wonder at her age how many repetitions of this skill that she does, because I can imagine at 38 years old your body can't do what it did when it was 16, 17 years old. So not doing as many repetitions, it's details like that landing sometimes that are affected. But enjoying the moment.
Wonderful.
So with both of her vaults complete now, the scores 14-5-8-3. So 3 into the women's vaults now from Vietnam. Thai Hai Tan Pan coming up next. First of her 2 trips down the vault lane.
2011's World Championship. She was a bronze medalist on the vault, the first and only gymnast from Vietnam to ever win a world medal.
Same vault we just saw. 6.2 start value, a little bit cleaner on the landing. Those front vaults are difficult because you have to come in at the right angle to get the amount of height you need off of the table. But depending on the angle, it can also affect the rotation. You can see right here having to pike down a little bit again.
Ze werd in de kwalificaties 4e aan dit toestel.
She was right on that white line, but unfortunately stepped to the right. That will be an out-of-bounds deduction as well.
2012 Asian Championship. She did win the vault there. That vault, as we mentioned, is a 6.2 degree of difficulty. Her second vault should be a 5.8. She trains in China, along with several other gymnasts from Vietnam.
Steingruber leading the ranking. 15.233, followed by Chusovitina and
Her coaches comment that she is well known for her hard work and dedication, and she never complains. It's an ideal gymnast to have.
You don't have many of those, do you? In your gyms?
Oh, they're all like that.
Yeah, right.
Even her coaches acknowledge that, you know, on the natural talent scale, she's not at the top, but she makes up for it for her hard work and dedication. And I always like to see a gymnast like that succeeding, don't you?
For sure. You can see she doesn't have that super powerful build, which you typically see on this event. It looks like she's performing a harder vault on her second one.
Oh, she did go for the Amanar, which is a 6.3 degree of difficulty, much harder than the vault she didn't qualify, which was just a double twister, but that didn't work out very well.
Came in a little bit short. Be a dangerous landing, coming in twisting like that.
Yeah, that's the landing that blew out the knee of Alia Mustafina from Russia. She came on a little high on that Yurchenko style, didn't she?
Yeah, that's a tough one. You got to come in very quick to that table. It's a tremendous amount of height to fit those 2.5 twists in. Day one, you mentioned her 2 start values were a 6.2 and a 5.8.
But it's finals, and you see that she had to go for a higher degree of difficulty. But you're right, good thing that she didn't have any injury. Twisting into the mat, if your leg is straight, that is a dangerous type, scary landing.
All right, so awaiting the scores for PHAN from Vietnam. Still both Americans coming up. Simone Biles and McKayla Maroney shortly in Antwerp. So our current standings from Switzerland, Giulia Steingruber with a mark of 15.233 is the leader. We're still 4 athletes left to go, so we're midway through the women's vaults, and Chantysha Netteb of the Netherlands is next up. So she's apparently going to need some medical attention after her first vault, a fall, and we'll check out her condition when we come back. Well, this was the vault that resulted in the injury to Netteb of the Netherlands.
She did the Yurchenko double twist, and as we were talking earlier, a twisting landing, if your leg is locked or not completely stable, it can result in damage to the knee. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed that she's okay.
She was helped away. She will not attempt a second vault, and instead we'll move on to the American Simone Biles. 1 day removed from her all-around gold medal, the newly crowned world champion from the U.S. And everyone chasing Giulia Steingruber, the current leader, who was first here on the vault in the individual apparatus final.
This is a highly anticipated next 3 athletes, Biles, Un Jong, and of course McKayla Maroney. These are the 3 that'll win the medals.
Wow. Big fall, clean landing. Doesn't get better. 6.3 difficulty score. The big thing that set her apart on this event was her execution score. She had the highest execution score on both of her vaults, a 9.6.
Yeah, that's remarkable. You rarely see an execution score that high. But look at the form. Maybe her feet overlap a little bit, but the body position is awesome. You know, she can even do an additional half twist, a triple twister. She didn't go for it here. But this is effortless for her.
Yeah, just that slight hop back on the landing, but she was dead center off the table. Her technique is so great. That's why her form in the air is very nice. And she's centered off the table because she doesn't turn early.
It's really nice when an athlete has the combination of power and technique. And she has the full package, no question about it. Amy Borman and Luis Brasesco coach her down at Bannon's Gymnastics in Spring, Texas. And it's likely if she can put down another vault that there's one more medal coming her way at these World Championships.
She had the second best qualifying marks, only behind her teammate, McKayla Maroney, who will be last. 15.933 for her opening attempt.
She edged out her day 1 score, which was a 15.9, so a little bit better there. Her second vault, day 1, she had a 5.6 difficulty score, and of course that 9.6 execution again.
Yeah, she doesn't have the same degree of difficulty in the second vault as her other 2 top contenders here, Maroney and Un Jong. So she'll have to be clean, and she certainly was in qualifying.
Half on, layout half off.
Nice. Well, she lands standing straight up and down.
Well, prior to the vault finals, I talked about how long this week is. She did the qualification all around, the finals all around, and now competing in all 4 events. And she didn't have a day off between winning the all-around gold and coming into this finals. It can be really hard to stay mentally at the top, and so far she looks on.
And it's amazing. She was discussing earlier in the week the potential nerves that she might battle in her first huge international competition, but she has looked so solid all the way through.
Remember, she told us that she was more afraid of Marta Karolyi than she was the World Championships.
Well, these athletes get evaluated on a monthly basis. They head to the ranch in Texas, and creates great camaraderie amongst the U.S. athletes, but it also puts them in that pressure situation a lot. And I think that's one of the reasons we've seen such great improvements in our U.S. athletes over the years, because they handle pressure all the time. This is just another day in the gym.
It's a good point. You know, a lot of these national programs have these centralized national training centers where the athletes from China, Romania, Russia train together. The U.S. kind of has a hybrid system where these gymnasts are home, say 3 weeks a month, and then 1 week a month they're all together in Texas for training.
And Simone Biles has the lead with 2 to go, so she will earn a medal. 15.595 now the new score to beat, and first to give that a go will be this gymnast from North Korea.
She has the most difficulty of the finalists here. She has a 6.3 vault and a 6.4 vault, even 0.4 of a point more than McKayla Maroney, who will be the final vaulter. She's the 2008 Olympic vault champion.
Oh,
big hop.
Same vault we just saw from Simone, obviously. Much cleaner landing by Simone. She did score a 9.33 in her execution score on day one, but I think that was a pretty big hop.
Yeah,
going to be anywhere from 3 to 5/10.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's a large leap forward. It's better than under-rotating, no question about it. You'd want to over-rotate instead of under-rotate, but that's a large step. Surely a half a point for that large step, and maybe another 1/10 or 2 for those small steps afterwards.
Vijfde wensen aan de sprong op het wereldkampioenschap in Londen in 2009.
Does something like that on your opening vault impact the pressure you feel on the second vault and what you attempt to do at all?
Well, certainly, you know, she has the advantage of having the most difficulty here. So she can afford a larger step on a landing than some of the other gymnasts just because her second vault is so difficult. Now, the story for the North Koreans has been well documented. The athletes, the coaches had changed some of the ages of the athletes, and so the North Korean athletes were banned from FIG competition from 2010 to 2012. Had to sit out the last Olympics. And in fact, her sister, who is sort of tongue-in-cheek known as her twin sister, competed under 3 different ages over 3 different years. And so the North Korean team was penalized, and she wasn't able to go to the Olympics last year. So, incredible story. Here's the 6.4 vault.
Wow. Lots of twists. She did that half on to the front position. Little pike position in the air.
A 1.5 twist off.
She'll have that landing deduction in the body position, but 0.4 higher in the start value of this second vault. She did get an out of bounds in day one. Couldn't tell if her heel touched that white line or not. Looks like she stayed in today.
Those lines are guides for the judges. The center line, of course, is to just keep them apprised of how close they are to being in line. And then the outside lines, if you step over those, it's 1/10 of a point or more, depending on whether you step over them or land over those outside lines. But she stayed in bounds.
All right, so Simone Biles of the U.S., our current leader, and now waiting for the scores. A 15.483, so Biles continues as the pace setter with only her teammate now left to go. Biles the leader, McKayla Maroney coming up. Now, just like in the women's individual all-around, the 2 U.S. athletes competing now for a gold medal. And here is the reigning U.S. champion on the vault.
We've talked about this vault a lot. There's no one in the world that does it even close to her, and Biles is pretty darn good.
Oh! Wow! Oh, did she step out of bounds?
Don't know.
That was a perfect landing.
Wow.
But she was leaning to the right as she stepped.
Now she has to stick her vaults because she doesn't have the most difficulty, but there's no question that this is, hands down, the best vault on the planet.
Well, it is by far the highest right there off the table. They did a comparison to her vault and a men's vault, and she's even higher than some of the men's.
And the women's vaulting table is lower than the men's. So she just has impeccable technique. Looks like she landed on that white line.
Well, she turned a little bit early off the table, so it just, with that amount of height, it just kind of shoots it over to that side.
You see her coach in the background,
yes.
Arthur Akopian, who was the course, formerly of the Soviet Union. He now coaches her in Los Angeles, and he was a world medalist on vault himself.
Oh, she did get that penalty.
Yeah. So first vault, 15.9. And now the final vault.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Okay, this vault should be a 6.0 degree of difficulty. She scored a 15.433 in qualifying. Now, this was the vault where she famously botched it at the 2012 Olympics and ended her goal of a dream finish at the Olympics with a gold medal on vault. She ended up with the silver.
Well, it's a front layout full off of the table. That is that front landing. She was going for the stick in London. Come up a little bit short on those front landings, and you're right sitting it down very quickly. So she needs to spot the ground so she has control, but she needs to make sure that she doesn't come up short here.
Nicely done.
Simone Biles waiting, the leader, but now McKayla Maroney. Her score is coming shortly.
Such a beautiful vault. They make it look so easy, but very difficult to have the kind of power they have and perform two vaults. She was close to that white line again on the landing. See if we can catch. Her right foot was very close to that line. She might get another penalty for the out of bounds.
It's about 4/10 of a degree of difficulty. Yeah, landed on the line. More than Simone Biles, so she has a little room for error. But Biles just drilled both of her vaults, to her credit.
Oh, the U.S. champion on the vault, McKayla Maroney, waiting to see if she is indeed the world champion. Two solid vaults and the gold medal. And the U.S. goes 1-2. McKayla Maroney gold and Simone Biles silver in the vault. And we'll see those award ceremonies when we come back to Antwerp, Belgium.